Good evening and welcome all Bathurstians. My name's Paul Jones. I'm the current president of the Bathurst Chamber of Commerce. We're hosting this event tonight, and I've been asked by a number of people why we're hosting the event. The Chamber surveys its members, and member feedback came back. We'd like to see a strong, resilient and engaged council. So that's why we're hosting this event tonight. But before I go further, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we gather upon today, the Wiradjuri people. I'd like to acknowledge any First Nation or Torres Strait Islander people in the room and acknowledge any elders past, present or emerging. So tonight is about trying to hear from the candidates from the Chamber's point of view, and I'll hand over to Janine in a minute, who's going to host and compare the evening. So Janine is a broadcaster, a journalist and the general manager of Bathurst Broadcasters. With over 30 years experience as a journalist, Janine takes an interest in local, state and international politics and helps mentor young journalists from that point of view. So you came here not to hear from me tonight, so I'm going to hand over to Janine. So I'd like you to put your hands together for Janine.
Candidates, Business Chamber Executive, Chamber members, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Bathurst Business Chamber's Meet the Candidates event for 2024. Just as another reminder, this event is being live streamed. There are toilets on either side of the stage. Ladies over here, men's over here. If you're undecided, I'll leave it up to you. The emergency exits are where you see the running green men, if need be, and there's also an emergency exit there which goes straight into the car park. Democracy is a word that seems to get tossed around with gay abandon. However, tonight is a perfect example of democracy at work. Winston Churchill said democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time. Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe said rather more positively, a functioning, robust democracy requires a healthy, educated, participatory followership and an educated, morally grounded leadership. It is worth remembering that these candidates you see before you have had the courage to step forward, to be probed, questioned and challenged in the hope that you might see them as worthy of your vote. I would ask that you show your respect on that basis alone, regardless of what your personal feelings might be. Tonight is not the night for settling scores. The speaking order of the candidates has been determined by ballot a short time ago. Each speaker has been allocated 3 minutes to articulate their vision for Bathurst and its villages. A bell will sound with 1 minute to go, and at the conclusion of their allotted time. Candidates, in the interest of brevity and opportunity for others, I would ask that you take your seat once your time has expired. At the conclusion of these speeches, I will be asking a series of questions from the audience. These questions have been collated by the Bathurst Business Chamber team to ensure we're not doubling up on questions or topics. The questions may be for one candidate or the group as a whole. Speakers will have 1 minute to respond. If time permits, we will take further questions from the audience. Before we commence, please ensure your phones are switched off or on shush mode. Candidate Ian North is an apology tonight. Our first speaker is Jeff Fry. I'll tell you a bit about Jeff. If you just give me a moment. Jeff Fry is a proud Bathurstian. He grew up here and came back in 1988 to set up a financial planning practice after working with the Bank of New South Wales across New South Wales. Jeff has been an active member of the Bathurst Business Chamber for 23 years and has made a long-term contribution to the community as a volunteer in various organisations. Jeff.
I'm proud to be a fourth and fifth generation Bathurstian. I have a passion for Bathurst particularly its unique heritage and its great rural lifestyle. However, I certainly have concerns for our future generation following us. It's important that we preserve our heritage, arts, culture and our environment, especially our water security. Although I've been an active member of the Chamber for 23 years, I was on the board for 13 years and president for 2. With over 40 years' experience in the financial service industry, I've had the opportunity to study the Council's balance sheets for many years. Council is in a very strong financial position, certainly compared with populations in other areas like Dubbo, and even with Lithgow, only has about a third of our assets, would you believe? So it's a case of being asset rich and income poor. Like many family budgets, we need to look at ways to increasing our income and somehow reducing our expenses. Things are tough at the present and would not like to see a rate increase. I currently live in Stewart Street, pay $4,000 rates, and I still have the privilege of a truck going past every 25 seconds. Bathurst Council has been going for 160 years, and it should be experienced in roads, water, sewage and waste. However, Bathurst is unique because we have been involved with land sales for over 40 years, say compared with Dubbo for probably 10 or 15 years. We have had Mount Panorama with the Supercars event. It's the largest sporting event in regional Australia. Balance sheets for the past 10 years show a decline in income from both these areas, particularly Mount Panorama, since the current contract was signed in 2012. It is not acceptable for our council to say we're happy to break even. We should be at least receiving sufficient income to cover ongoing commitments to resurface the track when required. However, we have many other issues that need to be addressed. Our group is committed to reviewing rates, assets and expenditure to minimise rate rise, prioritise the needs of the community, heritage and the environment, and deliver on infrastructure needs. Some of the other issues I'd like to address is planning for a badly needed
30 seconds to go, Jeff.
heavy second vehicle bypass, increase in parking for the Bathurst Hospital, support for a private development in the hospital precinct, fixing the Trinity Heights bottleneck, promoting heritage and cultural tourism, supporting sustainable housing, affordable housing. My campaign message is responsible financial management. Yes, we need to make responsible decisions that are in the interest of the ratepayer and make sure we cover the cost in making those decisions.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker is Liam O'Hara. Liam is a businessman and currently owns Paddy's Hotel. He was the previous owner of the Kelso Hotel. Liam has been a member of the Bathurst Liquor Accord and held positions on the executive. He was one of the founding members of the Bathurst Safety Committee as the Liquor Accord's representative. Liam is passionate about Bathurst and keen to contribute towards making Bathurst a better place to live, work and visit. Liam O'Hara.
Hello everyone. It's great to see so many people here tonight taking an interest in our future. As we all are here doing our best to put forward what we think is good for Bathurst. I've lived in Bathurst for 23 years. I first came to Bathurst when I was 15 years old and went to Stenny's. I was a boarder there for 3 years. I then lived in Sydney and came back to Bathurst 20 years ago. I came back with my wife to raise our 3 boys. I have 3 boys, one's 19, one's 18 and one's 15. Bathurst is a great place to live. We have found Bathurst to be a great place to raise our family. A few things that I want to concentrate on if I get voted in, I definitely will not support a rate rise. Everyone is doing it tough at the moment. Cost of living has gone up for everybody. The interest rates have gone up, rents have gone up, food costs have gone up, power's gone up. The last thing we need is for our rates to go up as well. Bathurst, I believe, should be run as a business and we need to find savings in the budget. We also need to increase the Bathurst Council's revenue. Bathurst Council hosts Mount Panorama, which is the second biggest watch sporting event in Australia. This event should be raising a lot of money for Bathurst. Over the last probably 10 years, Bathurst Town has received less and less from this event. Bathurst Council continually make more camping spots up on the mount, and then people come into town, they don't even visit town, they go straight up to the mount and camp. So Bathurst Town is not getting what we used to get from the Mount Panorama event. Another few things I want to focus on, I've worked in Kelso for 20 years, running Kelso Hotel and Paddy's Hotel, and we need a better entrance into Bathurst. Hereford Street is extremely choked up in the mornings and in the afternoons. So that is one major thing that needs to be looked at and fixed. We need a new road into Bathurst, and we need a new bridge over the river, and I don't believe it should go up Hereford Street. It should run somewhere parallel to Hereford Street. A couple other things, I think there's a few car parks that we need. We need a car park at Learmonth Park on the highway. When touch football gets played there, it's very dangerous. There's cars parked everywhere, kids running across the road, which is very dangerous. We need another car park up at the hospital, I believe alongside the Adventure Playground. And we also need another car park at the AFL grounds across the road from the Corinne School. The Corinne School use it during the week, and the AFL use it on the weekends. If I'm elected, I will work hard for the people of Bathurst and to make sure we're prosperous into the future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Graham Hanger. Graham has been a resident of Bathurst for 40 years and spent 25 years as a teacher at Kelso High. A Bathurst councillor since 2008, Graham served as mayor from March 2017 to September 2019. He is currently one of 16 community members sitting on the State Parole Authority and is a Gold Life member of the New South Wales Combined High Schools Sports Association. Please make Graham Hanger welcome.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, the Business Chamber. I'm glad I'm speaker number 3 because I have the opportunity to ask each speaker who follows me what they think. My platform, and I've said it since about 2010, is we've talked in council regularly and often about a special rate variation. An increase. Yes, an increase. It is a business, as Liam O'Hara just said, it is a business, and we have to increase our revenue. How do you increase the revenue? Sadly, I don't like it, but it has to happen. The rates, we had the opportunity and we lost it. We lost the opportunity to put to IPART. IPART is the Independent Pricing and Regulation Tribunal. We don't set the rate. We make a recommendation to IPART. People don't get that. People are shaking their heads, I can see that. Think about it, people. If we don't do something, it's going to be a problem. We have to look again at a special rate variation. We've got assets that will decline. We've got a maintenance backlog of some millions of dollars. We need the income. It's quite simple. Tonight when you're at home, when you go home and you're thinking about what people said and you're shaking your head and say, why did he say that? I said it because I'm honest and I'll stand here and I will say it again. Be fair income. Be fair income about what we need to do. We can cut and cut and cut. And there are business people in this room who know that if you keep cutting, you end up with not very much and you must bring something in at the other end. And the other end is income. And the way to do it is with a special rate variation. To be discussed. We've got to go back to the drawing board and start again. I'm not talking numbers. Forget numbers. Don't let people tell you it should be this, it should be that. Let's not work that now. Let IPART make the decision. And then it comes back to us as councillors, and we have to say what they say. Strathfield Council.
30 seconds, Graham.
Thank you. Strathfield Council. How many dirt roads in Strathfield? Let me think. None. How many timber bridges? Let me think. None. How many huge houses? How many chatter and clatter do they have in Strathfield? A lot. And they went to IPART. They held the line. The councillors held the line, went to IPART, and what rate increase did they get? 93%. They were given by IPART 93%. Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Stuart Driver. Stuart has lived in Bathurst since 2012 with his wife Josephine and raised 4 children and 2 foster children. Stuart has worked throughout the Central West, often in smaller communities from Lithgow to Cobar. His focus has been on improving those communities. Stuart has worked to increase the profile of the Justice of the Peace services in Bathurst. Please make him welcome.
Bathurstians, you have been let down, and let down badly by successive groups of councillors who, rather than represent you and guide Bathurst forward with sound policies and governance and vision, have engaged in niche projects and kicked the can down the road. Well, my friends, it's the end of the road. What did the current councillors do? First, they put to the people an audacious SRV, which received a predictable reaction from the community and has resulted in much division and toxicity, only to then toss the whole idea as unnecessary. But what is very important, while some press for austerity, I will suggest to you, be careful with what you wish for. Austerity is not something to be gambled with. Quite possibly, closing everything that does not pay its way, museums, libraries and cemeteries. Job losses. Tourists will not stay, roads will not be fixed, and the city's infrastructure left to crumble. What is essential is that we have an efficient, well-run council, one that stops the waste, is sufficiently funded and provides for its citizens and visitors through a clear vision supported by strong and appropriate policies, making an attractive place to live and visit. This can be done through strong governance, effective leadership and transparency. There are other things to do that we can make Bathurst the flagship of the Central West. Youth and our younger adults are our future. I would like to see a much stronger, more representative youth council, which currently caters for those up to 24 years. Our apprentices, tertiary students and hospitality staff, where the youth mayor and deputy mayor are provided with a stipend for the work they put in and to give the younger set a voice. Inviting the youth mayor into the chamber to take part and to provide the views of those who are our city's future. A better provision and representation for our villages is also important. After all, it's Bathurst Regional Council. We cannot afford another council like we have had now for many years. You come here today concerned and wanting to make a sound decision. I urge you to have a conversation with each other, your neighbours, work colleagues and friends and family, and ensure that on the 14th Bathurst makes an informed decision. Our future depends on it. And I simply stand before you offering to put my shoulder to the wheel, my judgment, time and ability to guide you through this difficult scenario, a commitment I make for as long as it is necessary. And to do so, I will seek your number 1 vote. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Sophie Wright. Sophie was born and grew up in Bathurst, returning after 6 years in Sydney in 2019. Sophie is passionate about developing cost-effective immersive solutions that drive revenue for the museums unit, art gallery and BMEC, ultimately getting more people to enjoy our facilities whilst reducing their financial burden on residents and ratepayers. Sophie says she isn't afraid to voice her concerns or challenge decisions that seem financially risky, wasteful, hypocritical or inconsistent. Please make her welcome.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and to everyone in the room or watching from home. It's inspiring to see so much interest in this election, and I'm honoured to be here with you tonight. Our campaign is comprised of 3 core messages: together, change and community. I will use this time to share those with you, and I look forward to answering your questions later on. Together is about having the right people at the table. In this election, there is no time for apathy or populist politics. If we don't get a skilled and dedicated team elected, there are only 2 options: administration or a huge permanent SRV that our community cannot afford. For the past 12 months, our team has been working together successfully, committed to understanding what went wrong with our council. We firmly reject party politics on a local government level. Instead, we have focused on bringing together a range of hard and soft skills, plus the life experience and tenacity our next council will need to balance the books. I believe we are the only team with the courage, clear thinking and dedication to make the hard decisions whilst protecting the interest of residents, ratepayers and small businesses. Change. This is about rejecting the status quo and delivering voters a real chance for change. The definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different. Having developed a bit of a name for myself, calling things out as I see them, I will say this: voters need to recognise that many of the candidates sitting behind me support business as usual for Bathurst Regional Council. And I cannot stress this enough: business as usual for BRC will guarantee a huge, permanent SRV. And last but certainly not least, community, this is about you. Our team is dedicated to creating the Bathurst region you deserve, a safe and thriving community where you can raise a family, pursue your education, find a fulfilling job, or launch a dream business. For too long, leadership has failed to represent accurately and fairly the aspirations of our residents. We have the potential to be the most attractive place to live this side of the Blue Mountains for all ages, and yet our council is sending us backwards. This is the one thing that's actually bewildered me since moving back in 2019. How can it be that there is nothing more for our kids to do today than when I was a teen myself? Our children are our future. They deserve better, and we need your help turning this around. The time for change is now. Together, let's build a Bathurst region that we can be proud to call home, a bustling rural city and vibrant villages where everyone can thrive. This is the Bathurst we're fighting for, and the Bathurst that we hope you'll vote for, a place where every voice matters and every resident has a stake in our future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ben Fry. Ben is the incumbent Deputy Mayor of Bathurst and a community leader and businessman. Alongside his wife Kayla and daughter Clementine, Ben co-owns and operates Boxgrove Farm. His businesses extend to media advisory, where he has crafted communication exercises for government and private clients across New South Wales. Ben has a passion for reducing red tape, supporting local businesses and fostering progressive growth, whilst making Bathurst a thriving community for all of its residents. Please make him welcome.
Well, thanks, Janine, and firstly, thanks to the Business Chamber for putting this together. It's a great opportunity for candidates to show what they're about, and I'm about a team-led approach, and we've said that last election, and I'll say it again, we need people that have skills and expertise to lead the city forward for progressive change in the right direction. Yes, there's some challenges ahead. We know that we will need significant infrastructural and financial things to overcome, but with the right set of skills, we can do this as a team, and I want to focus on unity and the ability to work together and come to compromises for our community. And in doing that, myself and the incumbent councillor, Councillor Burke, have put together a team, and I'd like to use this time to introduce you to Jack Underwood as well. Jack Underwood is a community communicator who has the best at heart for Bathurst and sees things as they are and wants to communicate with ratepayers and increase the amount of transparency between council and Bathurst. We've done our little bit in the last couple of years, but we'll need stronger candidates to help us do the rest. We've also got Bo Yates, a sporting champion and community leader who has a business in the CBD of William Street and is a good representative of those businesses around that area. And they actually have different ways of operating than, say, my business, which is located on a rural holding. Bathurst is regional, and 3 of 5 of my candidates on my Group A ticket actually don't live in the CBD. We live on the land and aren't connected to the normal things that ratepayers take for granted. So we do have to take in all advice from all sets of opinions. We've also got Jazz Nankervis, who is the 2023-2024 Youth Mayor, and she provides a great connection between the youth of this city and the council itself in providing that conduit of communication from the Youth Council to Bathurst Regional Council. What we need to do to move forward is, yes, focus on those cost efficiencies at a council level. Make sure that we're doing everything possible to make sure we can at least keep a service level that is acceptable to the community, but also increase the revenue enough to cover that operational shortfall, which we all now know we have. You should have seen the surprise on our faces thinking Bathurst was a flush city coming in.
20 seconds, Ben.
We've been in there for 5 minutes, opened up the book, and a big red flag comes up. So we do need to fix the issue. It's going to require better transparency and better communication between community and whoever is elected for this next council. And I'm hoping that you'll put your trust behind Group A for Bathurst Regional Council.
Jess Jennings is next. He has 25 years running his own company, mostly in Australian agriculture, and has a PhD in technology adoption. Jess has 12 years experience on council and 1 year as mayor. Jess believes we need proven, reliable and sensible leadership and a council of builders to get Bathurst through its next phase of growth. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Janine, and thank you to the Chamber. Isn't it great that you're all here wanting to participate and get the most out of your candidates and hopefully the most out of your council? I've got to say also, just on a side note, it's great that we're not one of those councils that doesn't have enough candidates to even fill the ticket. So it's fantastic so many people really care. I really want to introduce my team to start with. Nick Packham is my number 2. I think everybody knows him. He's extremely well respected and has achieved a hell of a lot in Bathurst through Vivability. Started off employing about 80 people, now employs over 230 people, and we've seen what incredible progress he has made for the disability sector in our town. Sharon Sewell is currently a board member of Reliance Bank. Shona Kennedy has been working tirelessly for years now to bring an Aboriginal medical service to Bathurst, working extensively with major stakeholders like University of Western Sydney and the Orange Aboriginal Medical Service. And I'd particularly like to mention our number 5 on our ticket is Angus Thompson, a Bathurst boy, been here for most of his life, suffered the reality of living with cerebral palsy, but has gone on to have a stellar career. And I don't think that many people know about it, to be honest, but not long ago, he won the Australian Academy of Cinema and Television Arts Awards for a TV show called Latecomers, and this work has been shown on Apple TV, ABC, SBS, and it was bought by the other nations of France, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg and Switzerland. And Angus is right here tonight, and I think he deserves a big round of applause for that. So in the 12 months I've had as mayor, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. What I've primarily tried to do is refocus this council on the thing that matters most that council has to do for its community, and that is focus on good urban planning. Time's pretty tight, so that includes housing growth, water security, infrastructure headworks, electricity and the like, developing our health precinct, transport connectivity and economic development in ways that activate the CBD and other economic
30
opportunities.
seconds, Jess.
Over the last 12 months, I've worked collaboratively with all our councillors, and I intend to do that in the next council, whatever position I have. But I've got to say, there's one item, I think, where I have a point of difference with all of these candidates here in this election, and that is I have extremely good contacts and strong access, and access is extremely important to both state and federal governments. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from candidate Stuart Pearson. Stuart's history with the Central West goes back 5 generations. He has had careers in policing, education and business development. Stuart was founder and convener of the Festival of Bells and is currently president of Bathurst Youth 3A and a member of the Town Square Group and Rail Action Group. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you very much indeed for the Chamber for putting this on tonight, and thank you very much for coming. I'm going to talk about something that I think is absolutely crucial. It's the elephant in the room with regards to Bathurst Regional Council, and that is one word: finances. Over a decade ago, Bathurst was one of the wealthiest local councils in the whole of the Central West and the whole of regional New South Wales. And now it's in financial crisis. We've gone from, the last time we had a positive cash flow was back when Paul Toole was the mayor back in 2011. And since then, we have been our finances have been declining. So since 2011, 2012, for the last decade, we have been spending more money than we have been earning. And that's why we're in a terrible situation now, because what we have done is raid the cupboard, or what the council has done is raid the cupboard year after year until we're now faced with an empty cupboard. There is nothing left. And as Margaret Hogan, former councillor, found out just a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, when she asked the Director of Finances, when will we run out of cash? And the answer was in 2027, unless we do something different. So it's the elephant in the room. It's the main thing. There are a number of reasons why we are in financial decline. I'll mention just a few of them because it doesn't all rest on the shoulders of the council laws. But we have a reduction in Commonwealth grants to the point where we receive less than half of what we received 20 odd years ago. There's been cost shifting from the New South Wales government, and that is worth somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million each and every year. We've got rate capping. In other words, the council can't charge what it needs to charge. And then there is greater demand putting on council for all sorts of services. But there is one thing that we can sheet home to a block of councillors, and that is the pursuit of pet projects.
30 seconds, thank you.
Pet projects such as the go-kart track, pet projects such as the Integrated Medical Centre, pet projects such as $13 million spent on a second motor racing circuit up on Mount Panorama, which is landlocked and cannot be used. And that's your money and my money, together with the state government putting in $5 million. We need to get back to basics. We need to get serious about what we're going to do. I propose rectifying the finances, repairing the infrastructure, and reshaping the organisation. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll hear from Stumpy Taylor. Stumpy is a third-generation Bathurstian. He is also the third generation of small business owners in Bathurst in his family, and did operate the Dudley Hotel for 23 years. Stumpy has been involved in all aspects of community, life and events, and has watched the city grow from a population of 12,000 to some 43,000 today. Stumpy says he is proud of the city and the people he loves. Make him welcome.
Thank you, Janine, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for the Chamber for putting this event on. Bathurst remains at crossroads. Our city is still growing, and it's clear that we need renewed leadership to ensure our services and infrastructure keep up. This is why I'm stepping up again for the Bathurst Regional Council elections in this September, leading a team of locals who are committed to backing our community. My previous experience as Mayor taught me the importance of taking on tough issues. We finally made progress on projects that have been stuck in the pipeline for years. We took on the tough issues, especially around Bathurst finance. While we didn't get everything perfect, and I absolutely accept that, we got things moving in the right direction. My experience ensures that we can guide Bathurst through the challenges ahead, keeping our growing community at the forefront of every decision. But lately we've seen things slow down again, with too many important projects stalling and the tough conversations not being had. We need a council that puts Bathurst first. Our growing community deserves a council that can keep up with its needs. That means getting our finances in order, pushing forward with projects like flood-proofing Hereford Street and 11 Mile Drive at Eglinton, securing our long-term water security, and continuing to secure investments in local projects and major events. We've made good progress in the past, but there's still so much more to do. That's why Team Back Bathurst, with its proven track record in business community service and getting things done, is asking for your support once again. Joining me in this effort are Tim Fagan, Kelly Richardson, James Connors and Rebecca Maffey, a team of dedicated locals who share with my commitment and community. Together we can finish what we started and ensure we have a council that backs Bathurst, not holds it back. Let's all work together to get Bathurst moving again. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Marilyn Osborne. Marilyn has been a Bathurst resident for 40 years. Whilst raising children, she worked in the finance department with local government, Bathurst Regional Council, for almost 20 years and recently followed her passion to work in aged care management. Marilyn is an active member of the Bathurst Health Council, Clinical Health Council and Western New South Wales Primary Health Network. Community health is a major focus for her and she strives to bring attention to the needs and concerns of our community. Please make her welcome.
Hi everybody, can everyone hear me? Sometimes I go a bit quiet, so I'm sorry. Okay, I want you to imagine two big coffins here full of money. Your money. As a reflection, I just say, while working at council for many years, finances. Under the staff noses, this has all taken place. A lot didn't even know what was going on. The staff most probably not realizing how or what it was happening due to the silo effect that occurred from management, including even the council reports. It was not easy for management. It was too easy for management, to be transparent. I remember one day near the budget time, one of our managers yelled, "What the hell is going on?" Well, the millions of dollars that had been taken from the roads budget was no reason. Just happened. No idea where it went at that stage. Later found out it went to culture and community. That, I guess, was part of what started what has now followed. No one realized where this journey was taking us until last year, when council decided they needed a 70% special rate variation, the SRV, without any justification as to why. I look back, and even if it is requested in the council reports, there's little variations were needed through the years. Really, there was nothing in there as to why or how serious or no substance. Just keeping going on for business as it is. So moving to here and now, this is where Bathurst is. It's from one of the richest rural regional councils to the poorest. Not fair for our community. While we're still paying the rates as per normal, we need to make sure this sort of thing never happens again to our community. When the old team of directors was in there, the coffins were full of reserves. and for rainy days, special projects, or anything as such. But it was always questioned. How would that really happen? Anyway, this is part of why my hand has gone up as a candidate. I remember as a director in finance, Bob Roach, saying to me, there are two very big things going for Bathurst and also the people. One is the development in land sales, if they're done right, and the second is our mount. It's precious. Sadly, when he retired, this is all where it went pear-shaped. Started happening. The coffin started opening up, and the journey began of all the
30 seconds,
wrongfulness
Marilyn.
that had gone. It is hidden very well. No transparency, no accountability until last year. Why am I running? To address issues and improve services. With experience in leadership, teamwork, management, and accounting, my understanding of legal and ethical frameworks gives me the skills needed to be an effective councillor for the Bathurst region, focusing on heritage, water security, road service programs, to name a few, of course. Let me be your voice to remember to be the Bathurst region moving forward. I'm committed to transparency, committee, and proactive problem solving. Thank you. Thank you.
Elaine West is joining us next. Elaine is a retired psychologist with a background in teaching, small business, child and adolescent mental health. Since her retirement, she has been volunteering in the community with Greening Bathurst, the Bathurst Community Climate Action Network and Green Drinks. With the departures of Councillor Hogan and Burke, Elaine says she has an excellent team of women who are willing to support her to get on to council. Make her welcome.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you to the Bathurst Chamber, and thank you all for being here. Now, I thought I'd brought the only elephant, a green one, but Stuart claims to have another elephant, so there you go. My green elephant is exactly that I've heard a number of times that people have said that politics doesn't belong in local government, and I just quickly want to address that before I talk about the other stuff, because it would be very easy for people to just turn off because I'm green. So what I would say is everybody has a political allegiance. We all vote. We generally vote for the same party, mostly. So that everybody on council is a political animal. I'm the one that's being transparent and telling you where I come from. Others maybe don't. The second thing is that I've heard that people councillors should be concerned with the community, not with, if you like, politics. And I don't think that's mutually exclusive. I think I can be a Green and be totally involved with the community. In fact, before I accepted the nomination, the position, if you like, I asked, will I be left alone to do as my conscience dictates and as the community wants? And I was told very definitely yes. There will be nobody telling me how to vote. I will be just as independent as anybody else on council if I'm elected. My professional and personal experience is quite diverse. I've been a shop worker, a small shop owner. I've been a legal secretary. I've worked for an accountant. I have been a primary school teacher. I've worked at CSU as a lecturer, and I've been a psychologist in the community. I've also been a solo mum raising 2 children, and I've been a survivor of domestic abuse. So I really know what's going on in the community. I've experienced it. My 3 primary issues, if elected, would be I'm a great supporter of participatory democracy. I think people need a say early on when any major decisions are made, and I would push
30 seconds.
For a more
Elaine,
participatory democracy style of local government. I think ecological sustainability is really important, and particularly water. And I think one of the things that we need to look towards is purified, recycled water so that we're not so dependent on rainfall. And the third thing, obviously, is financial sustainability. I believe that we will need an SRV, but it's how much and over what period, because a caring society looks after its most vulnerable.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Tony Gulliver. Tony is a lifetime resident and spent his working life owning and managing a small business. He has had a lifetime association in agriculture and is an active member of the Bathurst Business Chamber. Please make him welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Gulliver, and I am standing as an independent candidate. I've been a Bathurst resident all my life, and some of you all know me as the local bloke from CRT for 20 years. Now that I have retired, I've got the time to dedicate myself to council because the role needs proper attention. I don't represent any political party, I represent Bathurst. If elected, there's no promises from me. My focus will be on our city's financial position, getting Bathurst back in business, as well as working with the others to get the job done. The next 9 councils must be united, not divided, and we must have a mayor with strong leadership to unite us all. Lock us up in our rooms, let's decide where we want to take the city, and then each bring our own unique skills to the table to take us forward. We need councillors who can work together with other people. Regardless of our differences, we must be functional. We need a mayor and a general manager who's good at negotiation. This will bring funds and opportunity to our town and stop government cost shifting onto our council. For example, emergency services and high insurance. Review, 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 question, think and act. Of course, council's operations need scrutiny and we need to find ways to improve services and offerings. Our DA applications for builders should be tagged with an urgency to build so we can prioritise development and they'll boost our local economy. We're taking far too long in this area, we need a better system. We need to revisit what we offer as a town, from Mount Panorama to our culture centres, museums and of course our CBD. We need to get the best from what we've got to offer and stop leaking money. If we need to, let's let some of our assets that just seem to be bottomless pits go. Otherwise, we might as well just accept the massive rate rise and suck it up. I've been working behind the scenes for some years now on little things that make a small difference. Big difference, sorry. For example, I was instrumental with the white line marking to increase the parking by 25% to help businesses in our CBD, which has been well received. I worked with the Mayor to introduce the free visit vouchers on our museums, which we received in our rates notice. This highlights our cultural assets and encourages others to visit. Of recent times, the community has lost respect for the council and councillors and now need fresh ideas and new solutions. And I'm ready to step up and take the city forward and make positive change. Finally, good luck to all the other candidates. Take the time to vote below the line for the people of your choice. I want to get Bathurst back in business and I'm asking to vote for me, Tony Gulliver, Independent. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Warren Alban. Warren has lived in Bathurst for the majority of his life and was first voted into council in 2008. Warren says he lives and breathes Bathurst and believes Bathurst is a great place to raise children. He is proud that our local sport, cultural and educational facilities are being held to the highest standard. Please make him welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Janine, and thanks to the Chamber for putting this on, and thanks for everybody for coming and showing interest in our local council. I've put together a team of absolute professionals to take up this city and bring it to where it should be. I've got managers of industry, I've got health professionals, and I've got a retired gentleman that's a volunteer for everything you can name in Bathurst. So we cover everything. The major thing that I really want to see is the retention of the Panorama Clinic at our hospital. It's on the verge of being taken away from us while the hospital is in rebuilding mode. And that could take 2 to 3 years. What are we going to do in that 2 to 3 years for people with mental health problems? It's woeful. One of my team is a psychiatrist, and she actually worked in the Panorama Clinic a few years back and she knows the benefits of that clinic to our community, and we do not want to lose it. We must retain it here. Secondly, let's look at business in Bathurst. We want to keep business growing, and I put it fairly square at some of the directors at our council who put up roadblocks to all developments coming in. The private hospital should have gone ahead. It should have gone ahead. It was something that an investor was coming in with $80 or $90 million. Wasn't going to cost council anything to build this building. The drawback was the car park. We didn't get this private hospital because of a car park. I shake my head. It's funny, you sort of get on council and you put your name and your hand up again every time an election comes around. I love it. I love council. I love being part of decision making. I was one of two people that turned the Bathurst 12 hour from a production car race that brought in about 5,000 people
Warren.
to an international 12-hour GT race, which is now broadcast worldwide to millions of people, putting Bathurst on the stage worldwide. I want to see council get back to basics. Roads, rubbish and rates. I stopped the SRV coming through with a notice of motion, and I intend to stand against other rate rises coming up. Thank you.
You wouldn't believe this. I don't know that you need any introduction, but I've actually lost your little card and I've gone through mine 3 times. Gordon, how do we describe you? Long-term Bathurst resident, a little bit of an agitator, standing for local government again. Please make Gordon Crisp welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Why am I standing again? I'll tell you. For the first time in 150 years of local government, the Bathurst Council is broke. It has no money. Now, some of my previous speakers to you have told you of the good old days when this was one of the richest councils in the state. I was a councillor on those days, and I made it my business to make sure that we spent your money in an efficient way to give you the best advantage. Now, you've had admissions as to the fact that this council is in deep financial trouble, admissions by the mayor, some councillors and some senior staff. We're also using loans to finance current operations. Now you know what that means, don't you? You're just kicking the can down the road. Sometime or other, those loans must be repaid. Now, I do not share the view that the problems of this council are because the state and federal governments have been transferring services, cost of services to this council. We have had some appallingly bad decisions. I give you the example of the go-kart track. Horses and go-karts do not mix. Now, a council cannot spend what a council has not got. Now, I'm dead against special rate increases. I believe that we can cut some services
30 seconds, Gordon.
and have a situation where you don't get outrageous 68.8% they wanted to increase your rates by. That's ridiculous. Now, to help things along, if I am elected, I propose to donate. My councillor's allowance is only about 30 grand, but I donate that to the council.
That concludes our councillor chats this far, and we're now going to move to questions from you, the audience. I believe that the Business Chamber have tried to cull the number of questions only on the basis that we're not repeating questions. So some of these questions will be for individuals, some of them will be for all of the councillors. You have a minute to respond. If the questions are for all. I'm wondering, Maria, whether we should pass a microphone along where there's questions for all of them. Just might make, it a bit easier. Yeah, I can ask questions. Yep, that'll be great. Thank you.
You're saying that mine, I'm getting asked first up here today.
You'll be right.
Oh, I'll be right. Song
It
and
just
dance.
saves everybody getting up each time with that. And I'll let you know when you've got about 10 seconds to go. So our first question is for all councillors. Bathurst Regional Council is experiencing serious financial issues. What are your plans or suggestions to rectify this situation?
Go. Okay, late last year, I brought to council a professional in land sales to help council along with the release of the windy land, and he gave a lot of really good advice to council and to the general manager. We had a meeting for about 2 hours, a lot of writing was had, and it was going to be a slow land release, and nothing happened. I'm determined to see that follow through so that our future land releases are sold properly, not as they were for the last 50, 60 years. It does not work.
Thank you for the question, whoever asked that one. So our major plan is, I think we have to address the issue too that yes, our council is in a financial crisis, but more so it's in a leadership crisis. A few people have touched on tonight the glory days of council, and yes, there was a glory days of council, and that all changed in 2015 to 2017 when our council fundamentally changed the way that they decided to spend money. I've only got a minute, so I won't go into it in too much depth. But we have a leadership crisis, and our number one plan is to look for a new GM. I've been very honest about that from the beginning. Thank you. That we held a rally in September last year. The placards were clear. Everyone wants a new way forward for this town, and people have to be courageous and step into that fact and be brave and do the thing. So that's our number one thing, and of course there's more, but thank you.
Thank you. Look, I feel that we, as council, we should look at some more efficiencies that we could cut costs. As you know, in business, you know, if you can cut costs, that's a gateway to your better finances. Also, with the land sale, with Councillor Orban, we can increase those land sales, I feel, so we can increase our income. And just look basically at all our working issues with the council, how we can cut finances, how we increase our finances, and maybe look at the SRV, which I know a lot of people are against it, but I think the discussion has to be put out there, and I feel we, as councillors, we should have the tough decision to at least discuss it, and then with a new council, then come up with a decision for that. So there'd be the main issues I'd be looking at.
Right.
Mike, as I said previously, it's all about increasing our income and keeping an eye on our expenses. And I think it may not happen in 12 months, but we've got to work towards that. And I mentioned some of the issues earlier that we can generate more income. But certainly on the expenses side, we've made some very poor decisions, or the council has in the past, that enormous cost to us, something like the go-karts, unbelievable a cost. Very poor decision. We've got to be very careful about the decisions we make and what the costs is involved in those decisions. Yes, we are a very, very wealthy council, and we could effectively, if we wanted to borrow. Our debt is something like only 2% of our assets, so we could borrow. And we could look for future sale of assets that are not productive. But there's all those things to look at. It's all about what income we can generate and where we can cut down on expenses.
Yeah, I think commerciality needs to be looked at first. I think there's a lot of business acumen in the room and a realisation that a lot of our things can be leveraged better, including the Mount Panorama Precinct, our museums that have been mentioned, galleries, and anything client-facing, customer-facing, or fee-for-service facing could be done a different way, or we could charge more for. So there are other ways and other levers to pull before we go down the special rate variation route. I will say, though, on that issue of a SRV, if that discussion is to occur, it's got to be with community. I think the biggest failure from the last exercise of the special rate variation was communication from the executive. Value for money. What were we going to get for that rate rise? And I think it's critical to have the discussion very early in the piece if we're going to go down that route, and whether people want to prefer a reduction in services or which I don't. I'm very proud of this city.
It comes down to three things: governance, leadership, and transparency. Governance is about making the decisions that are appropriate for the people, if you like, making sure we're getting bang for our buck. Stopping the waste and making sure we have an efficiently well-run council. It then comes to leadership, that if there are financial issues, and clearly Bathurst Council has an income issue, is to go to the people, explain the situation, and for the people to decide what sort of city they want to live in. There's no free lunch, so therefore, if you want the pothole fixed, you have to pay for it to be fixed. It's not going to fix itself. And then, of course, that comes down to transparency, of being open to the community as exactly what the situation is and allowing the community to make an informed decision for its future.
Thank you. Cost shifting is a real thing. It has been going on for decades. Let me give you just one little example that I think resonates. The highway entrance upgrade into Bathurst from Raglan into town, once that's been completed, yes, the state government will manage the road between the white lines. Council inherits, with not a single extra cent, all the lawn maintenance, all the verge maintenance, the trees that are there, and the cycle path. Not a single cent extra. Now, I could give you an hour's worth of examples of cost shifting. How do we come up with a situation down the track? It won't be in the next budget, but the one after this, about September 2025, which is when the prospect of any discussions about an SRV may come to pass, and if they do, my approach is to do one thing, and that is to protect the ratepayer as much as possible and work to the conditions. There's not enough time now, but there are two reviews going on, a state review and a federal review into the sustainability of local government. I believe those will have impacts on how we react.
We've already had about a dozen examples of how we could become more efficient and how we could increase our revenue. One area that I would love to see council become is more proactive about bringing new businesses into Bathurst. The last time we had a major business come to Bathurst was when we had Mayor Matthews go in a plane, go overseas and bring in foreign companies. And that was Devro and Nestle. So that's a food manufacturing businesses. We need to become proactive and bring more businesses into town so we can grow the revenue base for Bathurst.
The first thing I would do would be to send a survey to every worker that works at council and ask them what they think would be good savings, but also ask them what they think would be ways that council can make more money. So the people there know what's happening right now. I don't. Probably half the people here don't. So that would be the first thing I would do. And then I would look at ways to increase the income of council. So the cuts have to happen, but increasing the income of council I feel, is a lot more important. Also to diversify the income of council. So not just from rates, but from land sales. You know, from Mount Panorama, we should be making a lot more money from there. And there are plenty of areas where we should be making money. The last thing is basically increasing more residents and more people to Bathurst and more businesses to Bathurst. By doing that, there's a bigger rate base and that will help.
Okay, so what I would be looking at is obviously the financial, so investigating the physical responsibility and ensuring transparency, looking at the effective use of council funds to deliver maximum value to you guys as the community, maintaining a balanced budget and assessing grants and funding opportunities where possible to reduce that financial burden on all of us. I would be looking at investigating resource allocation and advocating for the strategic investments to promote long-term sustainability and the growth for our region. Look, making sure the community engagement and transparency are sought by engaging the community in discussions about the financial challenges and the potential solutions, and gaining the trust of us as councillors, potential councillors, back again, making us, you know, one of the best. Looking to establish clear communications and strategies to keep the residents informed about council decisions and financial decisions. Regarding the potential need for a special rate variation. Thank you.
You know, I agree with everything everyone's saying, but I come from a business perspective, so I want revenue up, costs down. And let's not be too hard on council. Everyone in this room has been caught out by inflation, as they have. You know, things have just doubled overnight. So that's not council's problem, but they've had to deal with it. So everyone has got to work together and try and work on these costs and see what we can do to move forward. Thank you.
It has been suggested that we could get out of this situation by selling off assets. I don't think that's a good idea. Obviously, the land sales are going to carry on. They're assets that can be sold. But I think it's a short-term fix for what is a long-term problem. There may be other savings that can be made through council. A lot of the people here have suggested really good things. I think we really do need to look at an SRV, but it is important that we first do a participatory democracy style of consultation with the community. We need to make sure that we do it over a long time. Although it feels urgent, it's not necessarily urgent. I don't think the Office of Local Government are going to come down on us like a ton of bricks as long as we have a plan. And I think there is wriggle room. I've been told there's wriggle room about the amount and the timing.
Thank you. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You heard what I said, that we do need to really seriously look and have councillors who will vote and seriously vote to put in place a rate variation. We've heard about selling off assets. You know what the best asset council has got? It's not Mount Panorama, it's not Chifley Dam, it's not the airport. The best asset we've got is our staff. And I will say that again, and I will say it loud and clear. The best asset is our staff. They work diligently, they work conscientiously, and they work honestly to do the very best they can. I totally believe that by selling off assets, you can sell it once. You can sell the Harbour Bridge once. You can't sell it again. You can sell it again at the post office building. You can't sell it again. That's foolish. It's folly to sell our assets. So we've got to look at bringing our income in from a special rate variation. Thank you.
Well, my favourite idea is to improve the decision-making of the council. Now, I'm a professional accountant, many years standing, and the decision-making of this past council has been appalling. Okay? I gave you an example of the go-kart track. Who in their right mind would mix horses and go-karts? Nobody would. Now, you've got to pick, when you're making big decisions, you pick important features. And the important feature on the private medical place was parking. And that should have been cleaned up first.
In the interests of brevity, I'm going to start this way and go back again. It is a question for all of the candidates. What suggestion does each candidate have to revitalise the CBD?
Well, I think what we've got to do is to get a stable rate. All right? Nobody is going to come to Bathurst for a business where there's a threat of a 68.8% increase in the rate, the base rate, plus inflation on top of that. Nobody is going to come and put a business in Bathurst where they're going to be facing that sort of thing. So let's get our finances straightened out so that we can offer people who are interested in business a stable business environment and one in which they and you can prosper.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have an answer. There really is not. If there's somebody here with a perfect answer to revitalise, I'd like to hear it. I support businesses, and I said in my yes, exactly, said in my blurb that I shop locally. I shop locally. How many people here buy a lot of stuff online? A lot of people do. I support the local business chamber. I've supported them when I was mayor. I've supported them all the time. You have a look around at what the change in business and the change in society. That's time. Oh goodness me, time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
I think one of the things we have to look at is, firstly, that this isn't just Bathurst. This is nationwide. I think retail businesses everywhere are suffering. And it's partly the online, people buying more things online. It's partly the fact that people have got less money. But I think one of the things that we could do is slow everything down. If people are in town, we talk about parking and wanting to park right outside the shop that you want to go to. If you actually had to walk, or if you biked into town, you're more likely to wander around. If we have good tree cover, you're more likely to want to spend time in a shady place. There's all sorts of things that we could do to plan for the future, but we do need to get the finances right first at council before we can afford to put all those things into practice.
Okay.
Could I just remind the audience just to potentially keep quiet, possibly keep quiet, try and keep quiet, just while folks are chatting. Otherwise, it's going to be a long time before you get home. Thank you.
Okay, it's something I'm a bit passionate about, is CBD. I've been working there for some years. How did that start? I started about 4 years ago when the Town Centre Master Plan came out. It cost $200,000. It was 200 pages. There was half a page on business. I thought business could deserve a bit more time than half a page. So I've run around with Peter Rogers, and we've rallied over $40,000 to get the white lines to create more space without spending money building a car park. It picks up 25% area with the white lines, and that's good for the shopkeepers. The other thing, I've worked with the Mayor to, we get these vouchers which you've all received. Well, hopefully they go and visit our attractions like the Fossil Museum and things like that. So I've been putting my money where my mouth is when it comes to CBD. Thank you.
Hi, okay, so bringing more shops to Bathurst amongst all the shops that a lot of people own now, such as Chemist Warehouse, to help our community out, lower the prescriptions and different things like that. People will then shop in more shops as well. Fix the footpaths up. Look at new business and see, you know, there's a good mix in there. Again, staff owned, more production and different things like that. Means more jobs for us as a CBD. Looking at nicer CBD. It doesn't look so pretty at the moment. The little pathway down on George Street into the RSL, for example, it needs a whole new revamp. It doesn't look very great. Those little pot things with trees in them, that needs to go. Some other new things need to go in its place. Also looking at getting some big businesses, like, for example, using the airport, using drag racing and bringing people from outside then to shop into the CBD. Thank you.
I think probably the main thing we can do is shop local and support our locals. One of the other things we can do as a council is bring more people into town. Council has some brilliant assets. They've got football fields, they've got hockey fields, they've got tennis courts, they've got a swimming pool, they've got Mount Panorama. So we can encourage more events to come to Bathurst, and those people will come to town, they'll eat and they'll shop. We can also make town higher density living. I think some of the blocks in town without heritage buildings can be utilised to make more units, and then more people can live in town, and they live in town, they can walk around town. So look at increasing the density of some of the areas in town as well. Thank you.
For starters, we can very cheaply paint the undercrofts of all the awnings so that they are brighter and lighter. We can then put proper lights through the place without a lot of money being spent. Then we can string lights across the streets just like Orange does, and Orange is very attractive. And this is not millions of dollars, they're only tens of thousands of dollars, which Bathurst Council does have. But the jewel in the crown is the TAFE building. The TAFE building needs to be revitalised, reused, and it needs to have people in it so that people can then move from it and into it. And I would give 99-year lease to the right people to take that over and make it really hum. That's the heart of this business and the heart of this city.
So credit where it's due. Tony Gullifer and Peter Rogers came to me very soon after I became mayor and said, we've been trying to get line marking. I support line marking, I think most councillors do. Hasn't been a budget allocation for it. They said, we've been trying to get this for 10 years. We're so keen for it, we will go around and chase up the funds and make a donation to council. They did that. They got not just $20,000 to do 3 blocks both sides, they then got a total amount of about $43,000. Now that's only half the story. I saw that and thought that is an incredible achievement, and the business community needs to be given a huge pat on the back, but more than just words. I then organised and spoke with our council to have it so that when we basically stopped funding the New Year's Eve fireworks, the funding had to be reallocated, and we reallocated that to match that funding for line marking. If you ask me, better parking in town is more valuable than fireworks.
Many of the issues have been raised, so it's a bit difficult being the 10th speaker, and sorry for you 5. Online shopping, there is all sorts of challenges, but The CBD remains our financial hub. We need desperately to avoid what happened in Newcastle, and it's going to take compromise, a mixture of solutions. Yes, there are some cosmetic things we can do to make it better. We have to provide for the traffic that the CBD will need to accommodate. People from Windy 1100 are not going to ride their bikes into town to do their shopping. As romantic as that may be, we need to get a better balance for higher density, and certainly if we want our CBD to be accessible without vehicles, then we have to allow people to live close enough to the CBD to be able to do it. I think it can be done, we just need the team to do it.
There's been some great suggestions already, and yes, I agree. Some of the aesthetic things in our CBD are quick, easy fixes. Take the little small space off the William Street entrance to the church bar, for example. It's in a horrible state and it needs a bit of cash. But for me, as a person who brings in 150 odd tourists every weekend to weddings, I see them visit our CBD, buy in our cafes, retail areas, shops and restaurants and pubs and clubs. When business does well, business does really well. They promote themselves and can actually expand, grow, and you'll see more leases getting filled and vibrancy come from the private enterprise. We need to focus a little more on the visitor economy, the way we market our city as a great place to visit, and the on-flow effects for businesses that are in the industry and then use subsequent businesses in other industries is incredible. If you give private enterprise a little bit, they'll take it and make it their own.
We have to look at our strengths, and our strengths are we're the oldest inland European city. Wonderful culture, wonderful heritage, beautiful buildings, and our tourism is benefiting by that. We're winning awards, some of the top in the state for our tourist awards. The Trades Trails won awards. The the Winter Festival has won awards. That's where our people are coming to town. That's where we're getting people visiting. We've got a very unique city, and we have to work on those strengths, and we can do that through tourism. There's no question about that at all. That's going to benefit our city. Even around the streets in the last few days, the only people I've seen around have been visitors looking at our very historic city. And I think that's where our strengths in the future will come, from building on that tourism trade that comes to our wonderful city.
Thank you. I think by supporting local business and economic development is a priority for the CBD. We'll work to reduce red tape and provide financial incentives and promote Bathurst as a business-friendly region. Additionally, I'll focus on attracting new investments in tourism, ensuring that our local economy grows in tandem with our population.
Thank you. So it's my job, I want to hold council accountable to the decisions they make, okay? So a couple of fact bombs. We've touched on a lot of things tonight. So firstly, let's talk about Barn. I'm so sick of hearing people complain about the go-kart track, and I've got a minute. And I want to hit you with a fact bomb about this, okay? So we have spent double the amount so far on Barn than we ever did on the go-kart track, okay? That's the truth. Secondly to that, we talk a lot about the TAFE building. The TAFE building met the criteria for the same state funding that Barn received. We could have used that as $5 million of seed funding to get something moving and then push for more philanthropic support. Then, in addition to that, the additional funding that was recently applied to the federal government for Barn, the Bathurst Integrated Medical Centre car park also qualified for that same funding. It's priorities, guys.
It's really hard being last, after that. Yeah, I agree. Ban the Barn. We really... that one. We have a winter festival. I think a summer festival will run really well with a wave pool in Russell Street rather than a skating rink. I've been pushing for a couple of years now to invigorate the main area with lights, but haven't had the budget given to me yet. And let's see some medium density housing in the CBD area. Go ahead.
I'll get you to hang on to that, Warren. You can start first now. What are you going to do to support small business in Bathurst? And this is obviously for all of the candidates.
Well, having owned and run a small business for the last 30 years until I hung my steering wheel up a few months ago, and I've now gone into an industry-based job, I see small business as a real challenge. But what to do with it is small business thrives on obviously community using the business as local spending. So the Buy Bathurst cards should be increased. That's a really good initiative. But obviously getting more business into the city will obviously enhance other businesses and bring more people into the area to go and spend money with those small businesses.
Thank you. I touch on this topic on our website and I call it Keeping the Weekend Economy Local. And I've also said that our kids need more things to do. So I'm all about accountability, asking the tough questions, putting our council on notice for like the decisions they make. So a lot of people in this room might not know that recently in the go-kart track DA there was a submission from a private investor who's just ordered infrastructure for 5 indoor electric for-hire go-kart track facilities in Australia, and he wants to open one here. And Warren, I know you know this gentleman quite well, but I'll platform it off it nonetheless. But yeah, I contacted this gentleman and I said, just out of interest, did our council ever contact you? You know, we've got a lot of people who sit up here and say they're very pro private enterprise and we want to commercialise Mount Panorama. And the gentleman said, no, I haven't received a single phone call from our council. Yeah. Yeah, except for Warren. So that's the kind of stuff I want to support. Keep our weekend economy local.
Thank you, Soph. Yeah, look, I'm looking at, Bathurst is a very renowned for an event city, and we'd be looking at holding more major events here, which would boost the CBD and the local businesses, which gives them more opportunity for small businesses to come and start their business in the CBD. You know, we've got a major event coming up in the Koori Games, which is a major event, one of the biggest in the New South Wales, and I think being a event city, that way we could attract more small business in the town, some more tourism, and look, as I said before, cut that red tape so we can make a business-friendly CBD.
I talked previously along the same lines on looking at our main assets, and that's tourism, but not only events as well. And of course, I have to include the huge sport events that come to Bathurst, including the football and all other sporting areas. All this produces people visiting Bathurst and providing income. And of course, the other side is our culture and our trades and people that are we've got those arts and all those sorts of areas. And which an area we should be looking for is certainly from the culture and arts area, along with all the other events we have in town and all the historic events that are held in Bathurst that promote our tourism. Thank you.
Yeah, I think when it comes to small business, you've got to take a region-wide approach. Small businesses aren't just based in the CBD. There's people that work from home. There's people out on farms. It's not all just CBD. So small business generally, we can do a lot in the way of public-facing campaigns from our council through our visitor economy marketing guides. We could look at economic development campaigns that promote local first, and I think we should put more resources into that when they're allowed. But I also think red tape is incredibly prohibitive for a lot of businesses. For an example, small tweaks to policy can mean a lot for different businesses in the region. Recently, we did a new cellar door farm gate policy so that now, like the days of old, someone can actually set up a shop on their farm and sell their vegetables and wine and fruit or whatever they've got to sell. So back to a kind of basic commodities trading type platform for businesses in the future. I think small policy tweaks.
The best way to support small businesses is to have a strong business chamber. It occurs to me it's the role of the business chamber to support small businesses and then have an excellent working relationship with council so council can have the policy settings in place so they can establish easy. I think that's in a nutshell. A good business chamber with a good working relationship with the councillors.
Thank you. Well, I've run my own small business for 25 years, and I think event activation is one way that does help a lot of businesses, not necessarily strictly CBD. But I would just like to give Ben, Deputy Mayor, credit for working with me to get the Koori knockout here, and then working with the other councillors to get it over the line. It'll bring 15 to 20,000 people to Bathurst for that weekend. It's a great opportunity. The other option that I see as a really valuable, and we have to get it right, is of course the old TAFE building. This council in the past 3 years has been entertaining discussions with multiple players who are interested, but it's not going to get funded whole as bowlers by a grant application, I can tell you now. Someone want to rock up with $50 million plus to get the ball rolling? Come and see us. That doesn't happen in a grant application. The other thing is that the amount of work that needs to be done to prepare that site so it's put to a position that the commercial and private sector can invest in still has to occur.
Australia and the world is going through a cost of living crisis. We're all suffering from it, but if you're in small business, it hurts you even more. They are really suffering badly. And most people don't realise that there are actually differences in the rates that apply across the board in Bathurst Regional Council. There's a residential rate, then there's a commercial rate for our small businesses and large businesses. I would love us to sit down and have a decent conversation for rate relief for small businesses. That would be something that would bring them absolutely practical relief from the huge costs of everything, including rates.
The stronger the Bathurst community is, the stronger the business community is, the better all small businesses will be. We need to keep rates low. If we put rates up, then rents go up, and then there'll be more businesses struggling, and there'll be more business and shop fronts empty. We need to look to towns like Mudgee and Orange and see what they're doing. They've got all their shops full. They're similar to size. Orange is a similar size. Mudgee's a smaller town, but what are they doing that we're not? I agree. We need to get rid of the planter boxes on the road and make a few more car spots. I don't know how they're past heritage, to be honest. And another thing we need to do is help people get their DAs through with a small business. Someone applies to start a business and it costs them a lot of money for a DA, and then what they have to do in that DA might cost them 20 grand before they can open the doors.
I'm sorry, it's pretty much everything these guys have all said pretty much, so I'm so sorry, but you're just going to hear it in different words with a different voice. Start up a business advisory council in conjunction with the chamber we have now by establishing a council comprising of local business leaders to advise economic development strategies and initiatives involving all parts of our community. So that's getting right down to our small businesses, our tradies and everything, which seem to be lacking sometimes. Looking at business-friendly policies and streamline regulations so we can simplify business regulations and reduce that red tape to make it easier to start and operate a business. Finally, community engagement by promoting public consultation and involvement in the community and decision-making process relating to the economic development of our community, and supporting local campaigns to promote local buy and buy local to engage residents to support businesses where possible. Oh my God, I didn't do more time.
Thank you. The best thing council can do for small businesses is leave them alone. If you go... you don't understand the DA process till you put someone on, put one in, and then you won't want to be hanging by a rope. But That's not all council's fault. There's just so many rules and regulations. I have a reputation of living in reality. Someone just touched about the commercial side of it. You need to understand that the commercial rates is 25% of the revenue for council. How many metres is it? 800 square metre block at Eglinton is $2,400 a year for rates. 800 square metre block in the CBD is 8,600. Okay, but we both get a garbage bin. And it's just tough in business. That's my message. So, Paul Jones expressed at another meeting recently, his electricity bill, and he's only a chemist, 25 grand a year. The costs are just too high in every area. Thank you.
I think I would fall back on one of the important things that I see for the future, which is more participatory democracy. So I would like to see council having a really good relationship with the Bathurst Business Chamber. Thank you. And just suggestions from the community, have some sort of a collaborative approach to how things can be made better. One of the things that we need to look at, it's already been mentioned, is how other councils do it. I know of people who would prefer to shop in Orange because it is tree covered, it's a pleasant place to shop, it's not as hot as Bathurst. So that's one of the things that we could look at. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thank you, folks. It's already been mentioned about the relationship between business, small business and the Business Chamber and council. I wonder, do people really know how many small businesses are registered in Bathurst? Our Bathurst LGA, from Hill End to Trunkie, from Rockley up to Safala. There are 3,300 small businesses registered in Bathurst. I think that's pretty good. There's none of them, not all of them are in the CBD. Not all of them. Some of them are working out, and this has already been said, from home offices or just their bedroom, because that's what they do. Business has changed. The small business has changed. I spend a day a week in Parramatta. You think that we've got problems here in our CBD. They've got the same. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not just Bathurst. And small business does it tough. I'm sorry people are shaking their heads, but that's a fact. It is tough, and I accept that. State government regulations that council has to look for is another problem.
Well, first of all, businesses look for stability. Small business too. They look for a stable town, one which is going to continue to be able to purchase their goods and services for the foreseeable future. And part of that is what the council is like. And our council stinks. All right? It's even raiding our sewage fund to get some money, okay? So it does stink. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we need stable council so that we can have a stable business.
Time on that one. You can hang on to that, Gordon.
Oh.
You can, not on that particular subject. To all of the councillors again, how would you consult with the community before making decisions that impact the community? This includes villagers and community members living with a disability.
Well, consultation is what it's all about. When I was last on council, and I know it's a few years ago, we had a very successful council, okay? And we consulted with them before we put up a 68.8% rate increase. We talked to them before we did that. Now, this is something that this present council has got to learn to do. It should consult and it should be accountable for cost overruns, which the community do not wish to find that something they think cost them 5 million costs them 10. Thank you.
Consulting, that was the question. As far as I can tell, every councillor, there's 9 councillors, every councillor has a phone, an email address and a Facebook. They do? Oh, okay. Each councillor has a phone, an email address and a Facebook page, or send out Facebook messages. That's what, are we expected, we go to village meetings. I've been to the village meetings, we've got 12 village meetings all around. Once a year we go. For 16 years I've been going to the village meetings. And that's where we get a lot of feedback from those villages. People can come into council, talk to us. I don't know how else, apart from going out and knocking on every door for everything that comes up. It's a difficult decision. Phone and email is the best I can see for people to contact us.
Okay, I've been banging on about participatory democracy. There is an example that's happened, just to explain to you what it can look like. There's a recent example where we talked about the tree cover, the tree policy in Bathurst, where people were invited, just ordinary citizens and experts, groups of people to come along, and we were educated for an hour. We learnt what the rules were, we learnt what the parameters were, we had an understanding of how council works and how it's restricted. And then we went into focus groups and discussed one particular topic, one part of the whole plan. And then we came back and shared. And that's the first part of participatory democracy. Of course, after that, councillors have to listen to recommendations, but it really works, and you feel heard. So that's what I would do. That's how I would want to get the community involved and participating.
Thank you. Once again, back to reality. From a business perspective, all these people up here have got the right intention, every one of them. You know, they might have different views, but they're all here, got the right intention, and I admire them, and they're all going to get rubbish tipped on them at some point in time. What I would be doing, when Janine touched on disability and all those sort of things, I would run it like a business. I would have 10 people in the community, a school teacher, a policeman, someone was with NDIS, an engineer and all that, because I cannot possibly, and nor can these people, get round all the community. So you'd meet with those sort of people once a month and have their feedback, and they will give you the dramas or what they don't see, but you can't fix everything. But that's how I'd approach it. Thank you.
How I'd approach it is just ensure all residents are informed and involved in the decision-making process from the beginning. So we need to make sure we communicate every step, bit by bit. Maybe sometimes it's not going to be a great answer, but we do need to make sure we're letting everyone be proactive. With the people living with disabilities, we have all sorts. We have silent disabilities in our community, and we also have physical. And one big thing that we need to look at for consulting the community, such as the verges, is we need to try and maintain them a little bit better. Our footpaths are a problem for wheelchairs, for people even just trying to walk, our elderly as well. I'm sorry, it does say disability, but our elderly, because we have a large, big community on that process as well. So we just need to really start to look at the finer details and things that we can fix if we need to. Thank you.
If I was elected as a councillor, I'd be available for people to ring me. I work at Paddy's Hotel as well, so I hear people's problems a lot of the time anyway, so you'd be more than welcome to come and see me there. The major issues, I think definitely the people of Bathurst should be made aware of, and also, you know, survey to work out what they think which direction the council should go. In saying that, I think the people of Bathurst need to trust who they elect and be comfortable in who they elect, and obviously the people that they elect, represent them, so they will make the decisions for them on a lot of things, because we need to get things happening, otherwise things are very slow if there's over consultation on everything.
Look, it's a sad reflection upon society, but we as citizens have lost trust and lost faith in our council. So when they communicate to us, we sometimes don't believe them. There is a Your Say site on council's site, and it's used as a mechanism for you to contact them with regards to DAs and other issues. But for many people, we think that that's just a tick box exercise so they can say, yes, we've done that, we've consulted. I think we, councillors, need to actually become more transparent, more honest, and more in touch with people people in Bathurst, and we can only do that by being honest people and by sharing transparently with you what's going on. So it's up to us to be more transparent with you.
As soon as I became mayor, I increased the amount of transparency that the community has on our council by doubling the amount of question time. Doubling it. So we had 2 sessions a month, first Wednesday and third Wednesday of each month, where anybody can come to the chamber and see our council in action and ask questions. That's important. I believe in transparency, and I doubled it within 2 months of getting in. The other thing that happened recently in terms of disability was our access committee was having troubles. I saw that as a real problem, that it was not going to necessarily succeed or continue. So I facilitated a few sessions to bring that back, and it has come back, and it's being led now ably, and I'm very grateful to the president and the, yes indeed, Bob Triming and Vanessa Comiskey for taking that role on and driving it, because that's how you can connect with council from an accessibility point of view. I'd also imagine my number 2, Nick Packham, would have something to say about that.
To consult needs engagement. It is a two-way street, but there's also a concern that if people, why people have become disengaged, it's about transparency, it's about being clear as to what you are planning so people can be engaged. For example, it's not very good to discover a heap of trees are cut down because there's a pink ribbon tied around them. Better would have been for the transparency to be there that this is what is being planned to ensure that the consultation can occur. It is a two-way street. I think council needs to get better to provide for people after hours. You see a lot of consultations occurring during business hours. I get that because that's when the council workers work, but other people are working too. I think we can do it better. Look at tonight. Let's use it as a template.
Yeah, to that point, it's an inherent responsibility of a councillor to communicate with the community that elects them. And this one thing that myself and Councillor Burke have tried to do over the last term is increase that communication to residents about events, projects and upcoming decisions. And even the outgoing Councillor Hogan has done the same thing. 90% of the time, Mr O'Hara is right. You elect us to trust us to ensure decision making occurs in the best interest of the community that elects you. But I think for the contentious issues, for the big ticket items, there needs to be a trigger point. There needs to be a mechanism that instigates a public forum, and not dissimilar to like this, and not dissimilar to what we've had on some significant DAs in the last couple of months and even years. I think there needs to be a more firm set out policy about public hearings that are on contentious issues that business or the council is dealing with of the day.
I'm very concerned about community consultation. Over recent years, I've attended many functions looking at beautifying our streets, whether it's signage, whether it's on any ongoing situation. I'm disappointed with the number of councillors that turn up to those consultative. Where's the opportunity for you to speak? I'm also disappointed even with coffee with the councillors, so to speak, that a number of councillors turned up to communicate with us. And I'm concerned about the disappearance basically of our local paper, and how are we going to be informed about what's going on, particularly along the areas of development applications, etc. So maybe, I know the council has a big list of email addresses that people made submissions in the past. They're the main people that are interested in these concerns. So I think that should be a system where these people can be advised that something's coming up. I'm also extremely disappointed with the process the private medical centre did. We're not connecting with our community or telling us what's going on.
Thank you, Jeff. We can plan to engage in Bathurst residents through regular community forums, have open lines of communication, and have active involvement in local events. It's crucial that the council listens to and acts on the concerns of the residents. Be committed to maintaining transparency and accessibility throughout the term. And we also need more disability parking in the CBD.
Thanks. I answer this directly on our website, so I'll read straight from there. So every 2 years, our council conducts a community survey to seek the community's views, and that survey aims to gauge resident satisfaction with a broad range of services and facilities provided by the council. Those survey findings form the community strategic plan, and that document endeavours to outline the community's aspirations and long-term visions for the Bathurst region. Essentially, we should see a very close connection between these two documents. However, what we've found is an alarming disconnect. So this means our council is not listening, and it's time for that to change. Our team will deliver a complete review of the community engagement strategy, which hasn't formally been reviewed since 2017, because there's too many recent examples of council failing to communicate clearly, effectively and transparency. And this gives our town a bad name. We really need to turn that around. We'll also conduct an accessibility review to ensure that we're capturing the views of our city's most vulnerable.
Okay, last again. God. Yeah, good. Yeah, listen, I saw during the SRV debacle that when the rate rise was first mooted to the councillors, I asked the question, how are we going to sell this to the community? Don't worry about that, we're going to sell it. We've got vision, we'll do it. Never happened, and that's the problem. We haven't got that way inside of council to get the message out. So that has to happen. When that meeting, when the SRV was canned, happened in BMAC, that was the greatest thing that could happen. All the people of the community come together and listen and put in their 2 bobs worth, which is fantastic. We know where they come from. We know what they want. That's what we have to do.
Thank you. You can hang on to that. We have one more question for all of the candidates, and then we're going to spend a short period of time throwing it to you to ask questions. Some chamber members will be circulating with a microphone. This last question for all candidates: what are each candidate's view on the current agenda structure of BRC meetings, particularly the protocol of standing for the prayer and acknowledgement of country? And I would like to probably expand on that one and say the relevance to all of the councillors on the prayer and the acknowledgement of country without making judgment on that.
Wow, go first. It's really a personal decision of which way you go on that topic. It's do you stand, do you sit? It's one of those things. I stand all the time. If you watch it on the screen or if you go to council meetings, I stand. That's my decision. If someone else wants to sit, that's their decision. I don't hold any grudges. I don't look at them as being a lesser person. And that's how it's got to be. People have their own beliefs, and basically that's how it happens.
Thank you. So in answer to your question, I have no problem with the meeting structure as it is. I feel like I'm certainly the centre of this question in many ways. So I previously stood for the acknowledgement of country at all council meetings. I was then involved in the no referendum, and my personal life experience changed that for me. What I've come to discover is I think that acknowledgement of countries have lost their charm and they're overused, and I think that's really sad because I support acknowledgement of country in the right settings. When we're turning soil or building something, I think it's a really important thing that we do, that we acknowledge our traditional custodians of this land, and I will sit, stand, handstand, whatever it is that's required of me. But in our local government, we're meant to represent everyone, and my experience of the no referendum really changed my view on certain things, and I don't want to participate in things that feel like virtue signalling anymore. I want to be involved in real change, and I hope that I can do that for our Indigenous community on council. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My view is that I do stand for the prayer and the acknowledgement for the country. And as I said, it is my choice, and that's what the procedure is in the council. I do have a bit of an objection, though. I don't mind acknowledgement to country once, but I know we go to numerous events where you get acknowledged to country 3 or 4 times. I think acknowledge the country once at a meeting, and that's sufficient for that meeting. So that's my opinion on that one.
I respect the wishes of the Aboriginal people and respect the welcome to country. I also respect what's required of councillors in the chamber. But also moving on to the 2 meetings we have at the moment, I think that needs to be reviewed. It seems a little bit top heavy. Maybe we can have a look at, I know we have these regular communications that people can come along, but there may be a question of benefit return on the meetings we're getting. I think it needs to be reviewed. We have moved from 1 meeting to 2, so let's review that in the future.
I don't necessarily have an issue with the structure of the way that we do our meetings. I think it works okay. As for the acknowledgement of country, I find it necessary to acknowledge Aboriginal people and the traditional custodians, and I find it equally necessary to stand while doing so, and standing for the prayer just out of respect for everybody's beliefs, whether you believe it or not. So I don't have any issue leaving it as is, to be honest. And I've just got to apologise that I've got an engagement at 8, so I might leave a little early.
The current council meeting practice is for all those present to stand if they can. I certainly think that those who present themselves to the community to be potential community leaders should demonstrate that ability to lead by following the current meeting practice. I don't think it's helpful to deliberately cause dissent. I think that certainly if there is concerns, then you can have a look at whether the meeting practice is appropriate. I don't think, I'll change that. I absolutely think that we need to acknowledge those who are here before us, as perhaps we may like those who come after us to acknowledge us, and there's no harm in standing.
Thank you. The protocol that our council has is to obviously recognise the prayer and acknowledge country. That is what the council's overall position is. If there was a desire to change that and change the prayer or to change the acknowledgement of country, the new incoming council could look at doing that. But as it is, the prayer acknowledges our Christian background, and the acknowledgement of country recognises a simple fact that First Nations people were here first. I don't really have a problem with that, and I think it's as simple as that. In terms of the meeting agenda and structure, we used to have really active policy discussions on policy meeting, which was the first Wednesday of the month. It sort of got knocked on the head by COVID, and it never really came back. So when I got in, I had an opportunity to say, well, let's bring that back and then give the community more opportunity to liaise with council directly. It doesn't have to stay, but it's got to be worth something as well. So I think it's something for the next council to consider.
the model of meeting practice, which is utilised in council, is common right across New South Wales and common in most Western democracies. So I have no problems with it at all. It's quite consistent and it's quite clear, and I would like to see that continued. May I just say that before this meeting started, at 6 o'clock, every single person in this room stood up for the ode. And I just want to remind you of that.
The current meeting, the way they work, I'm happy with. I think one thing I think councillors, if they get it, well, if I get elected, I think the councillors should have more meetings by themselves to agree behind closed doors on which direction they want to go. Do you want me to wait? Do you want me to finish? So councillors should meet by themselves behind closed doors to decide on which way they want to go, and then announce to the general meetings, and that's where people can have their say. At the moment, council are not unified, and council needs to be unified behind closed doors first before they go to the public, and nobody supports the same thing, and then nothing happens. With the welcome to country and the prayer, I'd be happy to stand for both. I also make one comment. With the acknowledgement of country, it should be worded as such that it doesn't offend anybody. Thank you.
Hi, I have no problems with the processes of the meetings. I think it's great that we have two areas where we can actually talk to the councillors and present some ideals, particularly policy meeting and council meeting at the beginning of the month. The second one obviously is more related to what's actually on the agenda. With regards to prayer and the First Nations, I actually do think that I believe I stand up, but that doesn't mean to say others have to. I'm non-judgmental. There could be reasons we don't know about that's quiet and silent, and you know, everyone's to themselves, and we're lucky we've got, you know, an option to do what we need to do. So I think it's a great thing that we can choose, and everyone has their own right to opinions. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with it, and I've got a couple of good friends that are Indigenous, and I've done a lot of work with them with some of the things they're trying to work on. What I'd like to see, and Stuart touched on it about the veterans, if it wasn't for the veterans, I would like them, if it's just my idea, when we have acknowledgement for the country, for the veterans to be thanked as well, because the veterans paid the biggest price of all. They paid with their lives, and that was for the Indigenous to enjoy it, to be here, and you in the room. So I'd like that to be respected as well.
I've really appreciated the fact that there have been 2 meetings and 2 opportunities each month to talk to the council. So if I were elected, I would like to see that remain. I think it's a really good opportunity. In terms of the welcome to country, the acknowledgement of country, sorry, I worked on the Yes campaign rather than the No campaign, and I think it's vital that we do that, partly because we should be encouraging more Indigenous people to come to these council meetings. I don't necessarily think that we do get very many Indigenous people to the council meetings because they don't feel welcome, and I think it's vital that we change that.
I have no objection to the way council business is conducted at both the meetings. I stand for the prayer because I profess a Christian faith, and I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge the welcome to country, or the acknowledgement of country whenever is necessary.
Well, I have no problems with the present opening of council meetings. It is pretty well a standard opening across New South Wales, and so I just comply with it, and I would comply in the future.
Thank you. Just give us a moment, folks. Do you want to throw to the floor 15 minutes? Yes? Okay. Thank you to everybody who asked questions that were just put to the candidates. Thank you for respectfully listening to their answers. That last question could have been tough, could have been difficult, but I think every single councillor deserves to be commended for their responses. And the great thing about living in a democracy is that we can have different responses without getting shot. I think we need to time it. I wonder, could we move it down to 30 seconds? What do you think, folks? All right, it's like speed dating to work out which councillor you want. Okay, name and question. If you'd like to put your hand up, if you have a question that you would like to ask, President Paul Jones will come to you. The lady with the blue jacket on. Blue, yes. You.
My name's Liz Louisi. I'm a small business owner here in Bathurst. My question is to Jess Jennings. I touched on you all touched on the question of how does councillors profess to support small business in Bathurst. My question is, I've been in business in Bathurst for 7 years. My business is uniform supply and promotional products. For 7 years, Bathurst Regional Council have been giving their uniform business, when there is 3 successful uniform decorating businesses here in Bathurst that pay their rates, all the rest of it, they've been giving their business to Orange. No, I've still got more. Why is it that the council, the current council, awards their businesses, for example, architects, when we have architects here in Bathurst that can do the jobs? Why are we giving painting work and awarding work to people that are not in our council? It's all good and well to say shop local and buy the local business card and all the rest of it, but how about leading from the top? Okay, lead from the top and support the businesses that pay the wages.
Sure, thank you for your question. Well, the short answer is that Council makes a lot of contracts through a tender process, and the decisions are made on that tender process to get combination of value. There is a priority for local, absolutely, and I would welcome you to get in touch with me directly about your situation in that example. I do also know, for example, Councillor Orban told me the other day, now he's working at Glenray, does a huge amount of laundry for our area, like massive amount, and pulls it in from other areas. So, you know, it's swings and roundabouts on some of these things.
Thank you. Do we have another question from the audience? The lady in leopard print. And would you mind giving us your name, please? Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rhonda Griffin, and I actually got the Janine billboard put up. My question is, why did the Winter Festival go up in October? And it's now nearly, a month after, and it's still there. I've heard a lot tonight about promoting Bathurst. Why isn't it used more for, like, the races, museums, and things like that?
Rhonda, is there a particular councillor you'd like to direct that to?
I think it's the current councillors or Jess Jennings.
Okay.
Probably Jess.
All right, we'll start with
Thank
you,
you.
Jess.
Thank you. The short answer is that there are legal limitations on what that billboard can be used for, and it's out of council's control as to be able to switch it easily.
Hi, I was told when I was the one that actually did this billboard, and it had to be used, because it's on council grounds, it can only be used for events and promotion of Bathurst. Now, at the moment, it's been promoting the Winter Festival since October, and it's over, and there's still nothing, there's lots to promote in Bathurst. museums, car races. Why isn't more happening with that billboard? We only paid $1,200 for the skin, so you probably get it cheaper. And it was Peter at Commercial Printers that did that, so he'd be able to easily get anything you want done to promote Bathurst and bring more money.
Thank you, Rhonda. Councillor Hanger, do you want to address that?
Sorry, it's a very tricky question, and some of that is operational. It's not councillors' job to go to council staff and say, we want this, we want that. Anything that we do of that nature goes through the general manager, and it's then circulated. I mean, we could have discussion all night about it, but that's the bottom line.
I'm hearing a lot of deflecting. I'm just hearing deflecting.
I'm not
and
deflecting.
That's from both.
I'm telling you the facts.
No.
It's an operational
There's a billboard
matter.
there to promote Bathurst, to bring in more
I
tourism.
get all you're saying.
And money in, and it's still the Winter Festival since October till now. It's September, and it's only $1,200 for a skin.
Rhonda, did you want to hear from the Mayor again on that?
I'd like to hear from the Mayor, because it is designed to promote Bathurst. For events and promotions is all it's allowed to be used for, we were told, which is why Janine came down, or she's still there, but was why she's been covered over. So why aren't you promoting the events and promotion for Bathurst?
Jess, I wonder if you could talk through, is there a calendar of events for that billboard that's actually circulated to the rest of the councillors? How was that decision made?
It's intended to be reskinned. It hasn't been. Look, just to cut into that a bit more, I actually wanted to see that billboard and all our billboards actually making council revenue. That would be ideal. That one at that set of lights is not allowed to have particularly bright stuff and lights or flashing and that sort of stuff, because it would distract traffic going around. And we weren't. It's not controlled by us. We do not have the option to change that. I agree with you. I'd like to see it change more frequently, more often, but it's not the hugest priority when you've got a council that has a tight financial situation that we do have. But it will be changing in the not too distant.
Rhonda, this might be something you'd like to take up with the
I'd welcome you to get in touch if you like.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jeff Muir, going back there. Thank you.
My name's Jeff Muir. I would like to address my question to the long-standing councillors on the platform. Council's got an atrocious financial situation on its hands, and there's 3 councillors up on the platform there that I'd like to hear from. What responsibility will you take personally for the atrocious financial situation that the council is in? Because if leadership is the issue, which I believe it is, then your leadership leaves a lot to be desired.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll start with you, Warren Orban.
Thanks, Janine. Thanks, Jeff. I touched on it before. A great part of council's income is land sales. We cannot, and I'll push for this, we cannot sit back and use the same old archaic draw the ball out of the bloody barrel to sell a block of land and have 10 people buy a block, vying for that same block. We need to go with the flow. We need to go where other councils have gone, futuristic selling and online selling, and just not go the old archaic way again. That sale of land up there should have reached 70, 80 million by now, but they've sold 7 blocks. And that just tells you you can't go the old-fashioned way. We've got to look ahead.
Thank you. Stumpy? You want the longest serving councillors? Okay, all right.
Thank you. I just reiterate, I accept the question. I don't know that council's financial situation is atrocious. I think that's a little bit harsh. Well, excuse me, I don't, it's my opinion, you can have yours. I don't think council's situation is atrocious. There is financial management of the highest order behind the scenes. Thank you, Gordon, for your support. But, as I said earlier, and people must accept it, that if you cut, you must put something in at the other end. It's basic, simple economics, basic, simple maths. And for 10 years, I have, behind the scenes at working parties, and suggested when it's been talked about that a special rate variation should be in place. Had a special rate variation been introduced 10 years ago, we mightn't be having this discussion now.
So in my time on Bathurst Council, the issue was raised fairly early on, and it was said, okay, no, we're not in dire circumstances, we don't need it. Then just prior to COVID that year, our council said we cannot go any further without proposing and engaging the community on a special rate variation. Literally, we were then into COVID, May, June, July, and lockdowns and the rest. And I remember quite clearly saying to the general manager, you can forget your rate variation because we might not even have rate payers at the end of this. Who knows what we're going to get? And we had 2.5 years. Then you had a massive increase in inflation and construction costs and all the rest that we all know about, which put council so much further behind. But it's not just the last 5 to 10 years. The other side of this coin is that this council, since it was instituted as Bathurst Regional Council, has never sought a special rate variation. Never. Now, the average is something like 2.5 times that special rate variations have been put in place around other areas and other councils. You heard the example of 93% for Strathfield. Other councils have done it, and this council has managed to have land sales primarily be the way of filling the gap so you as ratepayers don't have to actually be subjected to an increased rate variation.
Yes, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Thanks for that. The gentleman here, please, in the dark blue. Thank you.
Yes, my name's Graham Humphreys. I've heard the people on the stage talk about income from land sales and that sort of thing. What I haven't heard from anybody is what they're doing or what they plan to do to support the building industry in Bathurst. Everybody's talking about small business, but only for the CBD. Probably the most small businesses in Bathurst are tied up in the building industry. The plumbers, the carpenters, the roofers, those sort of people. But all of that has gone. And doesn't matter how many blocks you've got at Windradine, if you haven't got builders to build the houses, it's all for naught.
Thank you, Graham. I wonder whether I could throw to the councillors who may want to answer that, or the candidates.
Yeah, good point, Graham, but when I spoke, I mentioned when people put DAs in for builders need to, council, and I've been talking to some of the council staff, we've got to think of their job as well, the council staff. When they put a DA in, whoever's put the DA in needs to tell them, or the council asks the question, what's the urgency of it? Are they going to build as soon as the DA is approved? Is it going to be in within 6 months? Or do they just want a DA approved and sit on it? So the council staff can make a decision, as I said earlier, so they can move forward quickly for the builders to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. If you could.
Hi, sorry. I guess in my mention, I did mention the tradies. I think what's happened for Bathurst is when COVID hit, a lot of because we didn't have any land available pretty much, they went elsewhere, and trying to get them back here, well, we do have an opening at Windy, but the blocks, I'm sorry to say, are too small for what we need for Bathurst. We need about the 850 square, and we probably bring it to about 380,000, and we'd probably have more builders come back to Bathurst. That's just my inclination, and probably would have a lot more land sales too. Thank you.
Any other candidates or councillors?
I think a good thing council can do, which they've done in the past, is bring back the builders buying the block. And the way they did that was the builders wouldn't actually pay for the block until they'd built the house. and sold it or have someone in there renting it. So if council brought that back, the local builders would be happy and they employ the local tradies and all of them will be busy again.
Thanks.
Thank you, Janine, and thank you, Graham. As I mentioned before, I believe a lot of it's to do with council's red tape. Typical example, I've got a friend who's about to build a house out at Kelso. They had to do an environmental study on their block of land, which has been approved to build. And then also had to state what colour brick they're going to have. Not only that, what brand. Now, what happens if that brand goes out of date before they build it? They've got to readdress the DA as well. So I think a lot to do with the red tape. I think if we can streamline that, it'll open up a bit more for the builders.
Thank you. This is definitely not my area of expertise in the team. This is all Gavin Press, this one. But he put forward that we really need to review our procurement processes and make sure that we've got healthy and vibrant tendering, looking at our preferred providers scheme as well, making sure that we're getting competitive tenders and we're spending our money wisely. So that's an area to look into as well. With that, thank you.
The lady, gentleman up there, and then we'll come to the lady in the front here. Thanks. Paul.
Hi, I'm Jessie. First of all, we absolutely need more housing, but I'd like to know where you stand. A simple, you're in support or against. Are you in support or against the rezoning of 34 and 50 Busby Street, South Bathurst, from R1 general residential to R3 medium residential for developers to build their 7 towers of up to 18 metres or 6 stories in otherwise single-storey area?
Jessie, I think this might be a little bit premature, that question, just given where the development's up to at the moment. I am happy to throw it to the current councillors. I doubt the candidates would be able to answer you honestly on that. It might be something you might like to take up with the council outside of this forum, but could I ask, are there incumbents that would be happy to talk about that? It is a bit early, but I would say keep on them and make sure that you get your answer in due course. Maybe that answer goes more to medium density within the Bathurst region, potentially. Yep, Jess?
So Bathurst is at around 45,000 people now, and I believe it is going through a sort of classic growing pain scenario as it pushes to around 55, 60,000. Our infrastructure is running behind the population, and as any population pushes through, there will be good infrastructure improvements as that population grows. And when we get to 55, 60 plus, the infrastructure will probably be relatively at keeping pace or ahead of the actual population. So one of the ways in which we're going to manage that growth is going to be not simply going continuously towards Hill End on subdividing land. It's just not realistically viable. So there is going to be an increase, I believe, natural process of increasing residential or CBD suburban density.
We have to move to medium density housing. We can't keep going out. Going out also causes increased infrastructure problems, our roads. I think one of the big problems out at Windy 1100 is getting into town. To answer your question, we must have medium density housing. It must be within walking distance of the CBD, otherwise we're going to clog the place up with cars. I believe it's too far out of it's too far from the CBD.
I support Jess, and I've attended several meetings. We're really concerned about what this R3 is and what is medium density, and particularly against our current LEP of 12 metres in the town. I think it may suit lots of areas, and a lot of it's based around transport nearby, right at your doorstep. I really am concerned about development out of Windy Hill and further out to Laughing Waters, because you have to have a vehicle, you have to communicate. A lot of people I've seen through DAs are happy to do the infills. They want to be able to walk to town. So I'm very, very concerned about what level this medium density is. That's my concern.
Thank you. We'll leave it there.
So just a question for Jess. Being that we are... Sorry? Oh, my name is Kelly. Being that we are the first registered Evo city out of Sydney, because you've got Tamworth, you've got Dubbo, and you've also got Albury, who their rates are lower than our rates. They have more benefits, they have more regional art centres, they also have more people coming in to perform. Where has council gone wrong? Because we're paying more rates and we're in Evo City. We are the first out of the biggest part of New South Wales being Sydney. And we're losing money hand over fist.
Okay, is that to all of the incumbents?
If anybody wants to answer, but specifically we would like to hear the answer from Jess.
Okay, thank you.
Part of the situation there is the larger centres have pushed through that higher population density, where you get that critical mass of population, houses, rates, and infrastructure that comes with it. And I wouldn't necessarily agree that we're not attracting events and cultural assets and the like. We actually do really quite well, and we've won as a council. We've won multiple awards for various aspects of that cultural engagement. And I would like to emphasise what Councillor Hanger said, that our staff, Bathurst Regional Council staff, keep this town running and deserve to be congratulated for the efforts that they do go to. Yeah, I don't agree with the premise that council has gone wrong when it comes to Evo cities. We've contributed like any other council. We're a part of a thing called regional cities, which I attend regularly. I was in Sydney at State Parliament last week for it. We're doing exactly what those other cities have done, and I'd be more than happy to go through a bit of a comparison if you want to and see where council has actually been doing a good job. We've got other assets which speak really highly to this area. For example, the Central Table and Collections Facility. Took 21 years to deliver that. It's the first of its kind, state-of-the-art collections facility that now every region wants to have. Every region wants to have. So, okay, well, that's another question, another conversation.
Okay. Very quickly, please. The Chamber is keen to wind up tonight.
I just wanted to say, I've had a lot of conversations with people and been told that they think the current council is one of the most functional ones that they've worked with. They've been down in State Parliament recently, and when they heard that the whole lot of artists had come from Bathurst, all the state politicians' eyes lit up and just said, "You're very lucky living in Bathurst." So I just thought I'd share that.
And your name?
Stephanie.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks very much.
So-
Alrighty. I'm sorry you feel ignored. I really am sorry.
Okay.
Paul, you happy to facilitate that? That really is going to have to be the last question.
You can be lucky last if you buy me a lotto ticket. It's only going to be a $2 lotto ticket. Okay, don't gamble.
Okay, so it's Vanessa Komisky. Mr. Graham Hanger, I'd like to comment, and you said if there's any suggestions people can make to make our Bathurst improvement, I'd like to make a suggestion. Stop wasting money. My question is though, when it comes to smart cities, which you know I have actually shown evidence that council has wasted over $4 million on without community consultation, what is the policy about stopping that and stop wasting money?
Give us an example of where council has wasted money. Wasted money. Is the barn started? But it's a discussion point. No, come on. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to be respectful to everyone, it's hard to facilitate a process like this. I'd like to firstly say thank you for the people that are running for local government. As you can see tonight, it's a thankless job. Sometimes it's you get asked questions about things that you know nothing about. You've got to cover a lot of breadth of issues. And the people here freely give up their time to come tonight. So I'd like you to put your hands together for all the candidates and say thank you for coming. And I'd secondly like to say thank you for Janine to agreeing to compare and host this. And I think we also should acknowledge Maria and Sam from the Chamber of Commerce. We're all volunteers that run the Bathurst Chamber of Commerce who actually put in all the work to make this happen. Yeah, you do get paid, but you still come out of hours and you still do it. But it's greatly acknowledged, Maria. We thank you for your hard work. So, and I'd like to thank the RSL for providing this space to do this. I do believe the Combined Pensioners and Superannuation Association is going to have a similar formatted event at BMEC coming up shortly to ask the prospective councillors. Thank you, Maria. So I hope everyone heard that. So I'd like to say thank you very much for coming and welcome you to, you've used 2 ears and listens today. Some of you've been used to be able to use one voice to ask a question. Use your one vote to make a difference for Bathurst and actually consider what the candidates said tonight and say who's going to make Bathurst better for you, because that's what it simply comes down to. So back to you, Janine, for the final wrap up.
I really just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming tonight. In all of the years that I've been watching and commentating on local government, I can quite honestly say I've never seen an election that has been more important for Bathurst. You've come tonight, you've listened, you've given these people an opportunity to speak, you've turned up. And I think for that, you should be commended. I thank you for your excellent behaviour. I know that people are passionate, and that's a good thing, that people are passionate. Please keep that passion. Ask questions of these individuals. It is a tough job standing up and running for local government, but they put themselves in the ring. Thank you, Maria. Well done. They put themselves in the ring and they are there for you to question. There are multiple opportunities. Make this election count for Bathurst.